Good day and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Joan Hayes, and in this tutorial I'll be showing you how you don't have to fill the whole page, that the paper can sometimes be part of the painting without any pigment in it. So in this little marsh scene, I start out, as I always do, with a wet paper back and front. I spritz the back of the paper and the front. I'm working with a 300-pound hot press paper, which is a smooth paper. And I'm starting out with a magenta and Payne's gray combo to give me that kind of rusty, muddy color. The sky has yellow ochre with a tiny touch of that magenta in there, tiny. And I'm just doing the base wet on wet, watching the how the pigment is traveling, which helps give me a source of ideas as to how the painting will go. Just kind of outlining how my layout will be. Loving this magenta mix I have. Kind of a rich, I don't even know what to call it. It's like a muddy rust or purpley rust. So either way, I digress, I guess, with that. Back to the watercolor. So yeah, just giving it a basic wash, and then going to come in with a little drier as I go. Notice my strokes are both vertical and horizontal. As I get going, it will be more and more pronounced that my strokes will go vertical as well, showing the edges of the grass on the waterway and so on. Coming in with ultramarine blue here, just again as my layout on the idea of the painting and what it's going to be. As you see, the waterway is starting to take shape. I did add a little bit of Payne's gray to that ultramarine blue. Dabbing the sky a little bit as I want, as I said, to show you how you can use the paper and don't have to fill the whole thing with pigment. I want my waterway and a little bit of my sky to be pure white and not have any pigment. And I've made the waterway wider in the beginning here than it's going to be in the finished product, because I'm going to feed the paint in with my feathering. So I purposely made it, the opening of the waterbed, a little bit wider so that I can have room to feather in the paints as I go along. So now I pick up the paint a little bit drier. I'm adding ultramarine, I'm adding yellow ochre to that mix of magenta and Payne's gray. Going over it with a bit of a wash just to kind of bring the yellow ochre that I have in the sky into the foreground. Like I've said many times, I like to bring the background, be it the sky, into the foreground somehow, even if it's a touch of color, just so the two parts act as one unit, one painting. Doing my feathering as I always seem to do. Going to bring in a little bit more of the yellow ochre and that magenta mix into the top of the sky, just for a little bit of depth into my composition. You know, this is, to me, more of a sunrise, where the day hasn't started yet, so it's, you know, no blue skies there. And, you know, we've all seen those skies where they're just brilliant. So, and it's my artistic license to do whatever I want to this piece and give my interpretation of what I want this to be. So now again, as I'm painting this piece, I try to always, as I say, in probably every piece I do, pay attention to the whole painting as you're moving around, because that sky is moving down as I'm talking. I can see it, and that might be a feature I like, and it might not. So I've brought in more of that yellow ochre, but with a little bit of that translucent cream on top of it, just a little bit, nothing much. So now here I'm going just kind of touching up that sky. You can't see as much as I can in person, but there were little water stains starting, as usual with watercolor. That's like the biggest thing for me, is to keep an eye on the water stains and try to avoid them. Coming in a little heavier with the translucent cream. Looks a little intense right now, but it really won't be. It'll be a kind of a secondary thing. Again, just giving that soft touch that I seem to always aim for. You know, these are impressions, atmospheric pieces. That's the style that I often paint, and that is my signature style. So you're seeing how I'm just feathering into that waterway, never put paint on that waterway except what I'm feeding so gently in with my feather brush, keeping the water on the white side, because in my eye, I'm envisioning the sun coming up, and I'm probably, obviously exaggerating what nature is doing, but this is my idea of what I see when I have seen these sunsets or sunrises. And as you paint more and more, I think you become more observant in nature, and you look at things like the palette that's in nature and the way things shadow and reflect, and it makes you more aware. So here I'm going in with that beautiful magenta mix and just starting my little shadows, ever so gentle, and I'll feather it out so it won't be like just line under line, like it appears right now. It'll all make more sense in a few minutes. And you notice I'm using this feather brush almost through this whole thing, going in the background there just to get that horizon line a little more definition, trying to pay attention to where there's water so that I can still get that wet on wet look with the feathering that I'm doing. So I don't want to wash it all out. I just want it to run a little bit naturally on its own. And my strokes are, getting more vertical there than horizontal. Little feathering now here and there, just to give the impression of the grasses there. The Payne's gray and the ultramarine blue are starting my shadow, starting to feed into that white a little bit more, but not filling it. And being cognizant of the fact that I want to keep that, trying to keep that white pure and clean, and showing that the sun is coming up and giving that area of reflection into the waterway. And a little bit more of that transparent cream just to touch it up a little bit. And you see already where what I did before is already showing through. It's really very subtle. And then I come back in and do my strokes vertical again with this, just to show that I've got grasses there. Going back into that background. A little bit of straight Payne's gray, trying to get some shadow marks. And I'll jump ahead and a little bit of the ultramarine blue with that shadow. And again, just coming in ever so slightly with in my center water line there. Just feathering it out ever so lightly. And it's interesting, I noticed in the background on the right-hand side that there were some water puddles. You see that right there? And that's the happy accident that happened. I saw the puddle and I thought, oh, great opportunity to just add some pigment and make a couple of bushes or trees in the distance. I guess that would be trees. And that was just like the perfect little opportunity to use the puddles to let the paint run up and do that natural wet on wet thing that it does. And then I'll come back in with a little more Payne's gray and, give it a little bit of contrast. Just a little subtle touch, because this is impression. And this is supposed to be a loose atmospheric piece, so I try not to go too heavy when I'm doing them in this style. And again, as it dries, it'll dry a little differently, and I pay attention to that. And where it's glistening there, it's quite wet. So I've come in, I jumped ahead so I didn't have to bore you with all the little detail, but the straight Payne's gray. And now I'm just coming in with a little touch of, a little more shadow with the gray and the ultramarine blue. So I hope you've liked this tutorial. I hope it's shown you a little bit on how to leave the paper. And I hope it encourages you to paint and pick up a paintbrush and paints and give it a try yourself. I hope to see you in the next painting I do. And I appreciate you following along. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.